At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By GMC, see the pros at your local GMC dealer. GMC, we are professional grade. By Empire City Casino, real people, real money, real deal. You could be the next big winner. And by StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the New York Mets. Download the StubHub app today. Well, the Mets just took 2 of 3 from the Cubs. Now they welcome in their division rivals. The Nationals are here. Yeah, you know what that means. It means Daniel Murphy's back in town after his big season last year. He's hitting well again this year. Ryan Zimmerman having the year of his life. Oh, and the last time we saw Anthony Rendon, 6 for 6, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez join me in just a moment. Mets begin the night 8.5 games behind the Nationals with a chance to pick up some ground with the first of a 4-game series. But as is often the case for the Mets in 2017, injury news at the top. Neil Walker suffered a torn hamstring last night. He's going to be out for several weeks. Matt Harvey suffered a stress injury to his scapula bone behind his right shoulder. He's going to be out at least several weeks. Noah Syndergaard was examined today trying to recover from a torn lat muscle. He can't pick up a ball for at least 4 weeks. So a lot to digest for the Mets as they move into this series with the Nationals. The most important thing on a day-to-day basis, though, is losing Walker with their shortstop Cabrera already on the sideline.
Well, it's like a battle of attrition here, and it can be in baseball. And the Mets, it's like they've got a curse on them. So that they get back a couple guys in Matz and Cespedes, and then they're set back with a loss to Walker. Now, what does Walker mean? Well, you're going to lose some defense, and I think a steadying influence, a veteran leadership in that dugout, in that clubhouse, and he is a solid performer. You're going to have Rivera playing a lot of second base now. It's a lot on his plate. He's going to have to pick up the slack. But these are big blows for the Mets, and it's just piling on, so it seems.
Well, Cespedes is back in the lineup tonight. Michael Conforto is not, but as far as the pitching is concerned, Harvey down for the time being, but the Mets starting pitching has picked it up, and tonight's starter Robert Gsellman's been part of that.
Well, he's been great. He's won his last 3 starts, his ERA under 2. But it's not only Gsellman, Matz and Lugo, Keith referred to. They're going to have to stay healthy. Gsellman is going to have to continue to pitch like he did last year. Everyone looks like they have to make a step up the ladder.
The Nationals have struggled in their bullpen, but their starters have been strong, and Gio Gonzalez off to a great start.
Well, he's 5-1. You see the ERA here at Citi Field, 9-1 at Citi Field with a 1.62. 5-1 this year, but the bullpen has blown 5 would-be wins.
Last time the Nats were here, they swept a 3-game series from the Mets, and they're back in town with their strong starting pitching. We'll see Steven Strasburg in this series. We won't see Jason Worth. He's out with a toe injury. Max Scherzer goes tomorrow night. The Nationals start the night with an 8.5-game lead over the Mets in the National League East, and the Mets hoping to pick up some ground this weekend. It's the Mets and the Nats, all the action on SNY. ODFL.com for more information. Get to Citi Field this Saturday when the Mets take on the Nationals at 4:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets bucket hat courtesy of Gulf Oil. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Unlimited baseball break brought to you by T-Mobile this afternoon. Lonnie Chisenhall homered and drove in 5 as the Indians beat the Dodgers 12-5. Jose Barrios now 6-1 with a 2.74 ERA as the Twins stay in first place in the Central. They beat the Mariners 6-2. Now have a 3-game lead over the Indians. And tonight the Phillies trying to avoid their 9th straight loss as they take on the Red Sox. Robert Gsellman, he pinch ran last night. He's on the mound tonight. His first pitch is coming right up. For the opener of their 4-game series against the Nationals. What a gorgeous day in New York today. Temperature in the 70s, sunny skies, a little cooler than it has been the last few days. And there's the Hyundai starting lineup for the Nationals. They've had outfield injuries. Jason Wirth's on the disabled list with a toe injury. Adam Eaton's out for the season with a knee injury. So Brian Goodwin has been filling in. He's been hitting home runs lately. Michael Taylor has become the regular center fielder for the Nats. But the middle of that order, Harper, Zimmerman, Murphy, Rendon, raging hot.
It's a nice little bench too with Drew, Lind, and Rayburn to go with the backup catcher Lopatone. Land Rover numbers for Robert Gsellman. I said that he was 3 straight W's. ERA in those games 1.42, 5-1 since May 1st.
Trey Turner leads things off for the Nationals. And Gsellman's first pitch of the night is outside, and we're underway. Turner's been getting on base a little more regularly lately, but still not the numbers he put up as a rookie last year when he had a .370 on base percentage in half a season. Hits this one in the air to shallow center. Back goes Reyes to call. And for the first time in the last 3 games, the Mets don't give up a leadoff home run. Turner retired for the first out.
And the Lexus Metsy defense. Lagares with the left-hander Gonzalez out there doing a fine job. Getting a lot of playing time, and he's been sparkling 0-1 in center.
Wilmer, of course, always wearing out left-handers at third base. Rivera, of course, that is the story right there. He's going to get a lot of time at second base with Walker out now. And Rivera gets a start. He's been missing in the lineup for the last couple of days.
Here's Brian Goodwin, who's hit 3 home runs in the last 4 games for the Nationals. Made his major league debut last year. He was briefly a teammate of Matt Harvey's at the University of North Carolina before Goodwin left. And he takes a strike, 1-1. Essential that you get these top 2 guys in the order out.
You really do. You can't have the table setters on base for the middle of this lineup.
Well, the game's gotten away from the table setters.
2 hopper for Reyes. So Say handles the first 2 chances, and Gsellman has the first 2 outs, and he'll face Bryce Harper with the bases empty.
Look at those numbers. Whoa.
A rousing boo.
Well, he always gets booed, and since his helmet fling against the Giants, I think that probably become exacerbated a bit more.
It didn't help.
Harper back to his MVP form of 2 years ago after a down year last year. Still just 24 years old. 3rd in the league in on-base percentage, 3rd in slugging percentage. And Gsellman misses with a sinker, ball 1. Gsellman had 2 starts against the Nats late last season, very successful, 1-0, 0.77 in the 2 games. And he's been on a nice run lately. Late swing foul, and it's 1-1.
Well, the Mets have had they've handled Harper over the years, and they've had got him up and away. He likes that ball middle in. He's running to first base when he swings, and he can hurt you downstairs.
Runs that one inside, 2-1.
You know, Keith, you said it with Chris Bryant when the Cubs were here in the series. Low ball hitter makes these guys good breaking ball hitters. Harper is a good breaking ball hitter.
The curveball bounces in there, 3-1. Ryan Zimmerman having a resurgent season, waiting on deck.
Boy, I'll say, leading the league in hitting, well above everybody else.
That's drilled to right field, headed toward the stands and out of here in a bolt. Bryce Harper with a line drive home run, his 17th home run of the season, gives the Nats the early 1-0 lead.
Well, the old 3-1 count. I remember the days not too long ago when Mets were taking a lot of 3-1 pitches. That is a pitch to hit. He probably meant to run a little sinker down and away, and guess what happened? Didn't sink. That is a 2-iron.
Well, this night the Mets survived the leadoff hitter, but that's the 4th first-inning home run the Mets have allowed in the last 3 days. Harper's 17th. Nats have hit 99 home runs, the most in the National League. Here's Zimmerman, and he takes a first pitch curveball for a strike.
But you know what, Ron, I like the idea. Go get him. It's the first inning. If he hits a home run, it's 1-0. You know, don't give free passes.
You know, you're a sinker ball pitcher. You just didn't sink like you said.
Well, there's a lot of distance to go in the season, but if you were to vote for comeback player of the year in the National League this year, it would be a Rout.
Yes, it would.
Well, his numbers, this young man, veteran, are better than Harper's.
He had 218 last year, and he strikes out on 3 pitches. Came in at 367 tonight. Gsellman finishes off the first inning, but Harper's home run lays down the gauntlet. 1-0 Nationals. go. But with a lefty on the mound tonight, he will sit and wait for the tough righties the next 3 days. Yoenis Cespedes is in there. TJ Rivera starts for the second straight day, playing second base right now. It's called up Gavin Cecchini to take Walker's spot on the roster. He's on the bench.
So the numbers for Gio Gonzalez, we showed you before, 9-1 here at Citi Field. His dad was a big Mets fan, so I wonder if he takes that out there every single time he pitches, show up his pops.
His numbers in this ballpark are just unbelievable. Juan Lagares, though, has hit him well. Lagares has 38 career at bats against Gio, 15 hits. He's hitting .395, including a home run. And there are a number of guys in the lineup who've had good numbers against Gonzalez. Cespedes, Reyes. That's popped up off the fists. Rendon will take charge of it, and that's the first out.
Coors Light national defense. It's got some injuries out there. Brian Goodwin getting a lot of playing time out in left field. On the infield, that's a pretty doggone good 4 starters right there. That's as good as any in baseball. And of course, the newcomer from the Orioles, Matt Wieters, behind the plate.
Now Wilmer Flores. Wilmer surprisingly does not have good numbers against Gio Gonzalez, just 2 for 17.
Well, there is a left-hander that gets him out.
Apparently so. Wilmer hooks that one foul. So Gio not only has won more games at Citi Field than any visiting pitcher, that 1.62 ERA is the lowest as a visiting player against the Mets in any ballpark the Mets have ever played in. Polo Grounds, Shea Stadium, Citi Field, the 1.62 is the best. Second best was Gary Nolan. Third best was Juan Marichal. But Gio's better than all of them against the Mets in New York.
Gary Nolan was part of that duo that came up with Wayne Simpson and Gary Nolan, and the Reds were locked, and they both hurt their arms.
Simpson, remember, 14-3 at the All-Star break. That 1 year, I think it was in 70.
Yep. Hard thrower. Nolan was a hard thrower. Gullett came up later, and then they had McLaughlin, and it was their 4th starter.
Lynn McLaughlin?
No.
Jim
McLaughlin.
Okay.
It was a decent, solid starter. Well, they lost those 2 guys. Boom, boom, and that just killed the Reds.
2-2 to Flores, and it's just inside. Gio wanted that call. Brian Gorman's the home plate umpire tonight. He's the crew chief.
Veteran umpire behind the plate.
Got a couple of young guys with him on this crew. 3-2 to Wilmer, and he pops this one up. So 2 batters, 2 pop-ups. Murphy called up by Turner, and Turner squeezes it for the second out. And now Cespedes with 2 out and nobody on. Yoenis appeared as a pinch hitter last night, had a base hit in the 8th inning when the Mets were putting together their 5-run go-ahead rally. You see his great numbers against Gio Gonzalez. Since coming off the disabled list, Cespedes 6 for 12, including a grand slam.
It's just interesting. The hitters nod to the pitcher the first at bat, like, hey, how you doing? Let's go get him. I always find that interesting. Like,
didn't happen in your day?
Don't look at me. I mean, I wouldn't like that.
Maybe if you nod the pitcher, you're less likely to get drilled.
Okay.
Cespedes hits one deep to center field, but playable for Taylor. And he puts it away to retire the side. So 1-2-3 inning for Gio Gonzalez in the bottom of the first. 1-0 Nats. Mets for the 2017 All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at Mets.com/vote and catch all the excitement of the 88th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 11th live on Fox. Beautiful day in the city. Beautiful day out at the ballpark. 1-0 Nationals as we go to the second. And Daniel Murphy will lead off against New York. Murphy in his first 25 games against the Mets has put up numbers that no player has ever put up in his first 25 games against his former team. I'm talking about in the history of baseball. 384, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs. Nobody has ever had those numbers in their first 25 games against their old team. Murph strokes that one on a one-hopper, and Reyes can't find it, and Murph is safe at first. Looked like a playable ball for Reyes on the short hop, but he couldn't field it cleanly.
A ball hit hard. He just did not get in front. Didn't have much movement.
You know, we saw a game recently where Neil Walker, on that kind of ball, he kind of cradled it in his midsection and made the play. That's what you'd have to do there.
They're going to give Murph credit for a base hit. It could have gone either way, you would think. So Murphy has his 83rd hit of the year.
Adds on.
And here's Anthony Rendon. Well, when last we saw Rendon, he was having the game of his and many other people's lives. That was April 30th. He went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. No player had ever driven in more than 7 runs in a game against the Mets. Rendon drove in 10. Only one player had ever gone 6 for 6 against the Mets, and that was Bill Madlock in 1975 before Rendon did it. And that got Rendon going on a real hot streak. It's cooled down a little bit the last 10 days or so.
I've always felt like he's feasted on Mets pitching. His short but brilliant career. Good player, good hitter, hands hitter.
Pulled over the bag and hits the third base bag and goes down the line. Murphy heads to third as Cespedes gets to the sidewall, and into second base goes Rendon with a cushion double.
Well, he probably with with Flores diving would have probably beat it. But it would have been runners on first and second, not second and third. That's very unfortunate.
So a sharp one-hopper that Reyes couldn't handle, and now a ground ball off the bag. So Nats have gotten the benefit of the bounces, and they have second and third and nobody out.
Well, the Nats come into this game as a team leading the league in batting average, runs, slugging, home runs, on base percentage.
Yeah, that pretty much runs the gamut.
Yes, it does. Those are all the important categories.
Here's Matt Wieters sitting 7th in the order. Mets playing the infield back, already down 1-0. And a first pitch changeup misses badly for ball 1. Wieters, after 8 years in Baltimore, a late signee with the Nationals, and he's done exactly what they've needed him to do, giving them adequate offense and defense, playing the majority of games behind the plate. 4-time All-Star in his American League days. In the dirt and stopped by Rivera. 2-0. Well, the Mets were 12.5 back a week ago. They've shortened that up. Mets have won 5 of their last 6. The Nats have lost 5 of their last 6. Miami has played well lately, winning 13 of 19.
2 changeups to start this at bat against Wieters.
Murphy at third, Rendon at second with nobody out, and the off-speed pitch again gets a swinging strike. 2-1.
You think you wouldn't want to throw a changeup here because it's a ball that a left-hander can pull, and you get a runner in with the infield back and advance the back runner to third.
A dangerous pitch. Got away with it that time.
A little bloop into shallow center. Lagares playing shallow. Murphy tags, but he's not going anywhere against Lagares' arm. 2-hop strike to the plate, and that's the first out.
Well, you're not going to run on Juan this shallow.
Well, he also was playing extremely shallow, so they made that play easy.
I don't know why Lucas just didn't cut it off. You take a chance of that ball taking a bad hop.
Hit the mound.
Yeah, anything. You know, no one's going to score.
So here's Michael Taylor, who's been playing most of the center field with Adam Eaton out for the season. We saw that injury when he tore up his ACL when the Mets were in D.C. Big loss for the Nats, so Taylor getting another shot at being an everyday player. And he has been exactly what he's always been, maddeningly inconsistent.
Well, he strikes out a lot, but he's also got tremendous power.
Situation where Gsellman could use a strikeout.
He'll make a great catch defensively and then miss the next one.
And Taylor fouls it back, and now Gsellman ahead on the count 0-2. Murphy led off the inning with a single. Rendon followed with a double. Remember, Gsellman pulled several Houdini acts in his last start in Atlanta. Worked out of a bases loaded jam in the first. A couple more instances with runners in scoring position where he was able to sidestep trouble. 0-2 coming to Taylor, and it's inside, almost hit him. 1-2.
Whenever you get a hitter up in this kind of situation or strikes out as much as Taylor does, you don't have to throw a strike. You've gotten up in the count. Throw something off the strike zone. They usually will chase it.
Pitcher on deck. Gsellman throwing a lot more changeups early in this game than he is accustomed to throwing. One and two to Michael Taylor. A little blooper, and Rivera snags it, 2 out. So Gsellman, after second and third and nobody out, 2/3 of the way home, and he has to get through Gio Gonzalez to put up a 0. Gio's got 4 hits this year. Lifetime 102 hitter with 3 home runs.
4 RBI.
Are there more pitchers than ever who swing opposite the way they throw?
Yeah, why is that?
No, well, it's because there was a time when the way you swung, if you exposed your arm, they wouldn't let you swing that way.
Right. I mean, think about it, just with the Mets, you have Matz, a left-hand hitter who swings right. Syndergaard and DeGrom, both right-hand hitters who swing left. Wheeler also. And here's Gio, left-hand pitcher who swings from the right side.
Gio's not an automatic out. He can hit a little bit.
Below the knees. And Rivera is going to bring that ball out to Gsellman with Robert falling behind 2-0.
You know, a lot of times over my career I've seen something like this happen. It's like you get the 2 big outs, the hitters in the lineup, and I think the pitcher kind of takes a sigh of relief, and then he kind of loses a little focus on the pitcher.
That's a good way to put it, Keith. Sometimes you think you're out of the woods before you're out of the woods yet.
So it was a good time for Rene to pop out there and have a little chat. You got to take your chances here.
Gio taking all the way. 2-1. And now 2-2. Trey Turner would be next. Gsellman would prefer to see him leading off the next inning. Murphy at third, Rendon at second with 2 out. 2-2 to Gonzalez. And stays alive.
Very shallow outfield. The Mets, all 3 positions out there shallow.
Got 2 Gold Glovers in that outfield tonight. Cespedes and Lagares. Again the 2-2, but first Gsellman steps off. And Gio hits one toward the middle. Reyes to his left. The spinorama, and he got him. Side retired. Reyes couldn't make the play on Murphy to start the inning, but he makes a nice play on Gonzalez to keep the Nats off the board in the second. Strong work by Gsellman, helped out by this fine play by Reyes. They go to the bottom of the second, still 1-0 Nats. But watch this swing and the reaction from Gio.
If you watch him just a little bit, he kind of like just tweaks, moves. See how he moved his back there, like it's a little tight. But you saw it really here, Gary, as he's trying to beat out this hit.
After he crossed the bag, there was another little grimace, and again when he took the mound for this bottom of the second. So watch the way he manipulates his side there. See?
Yeah, just
something aggravated.
Yeah.
Whether it will affect his pitching or not, we'll see. He got no attention from the trainer in the dugout between innings. Jay Bruce rockets one down the line foul. You see him grabbing that right side there.
Yeah, there you go.
Almost like he tweaked an oblique or something like that. He's ahead on Brusseau in 2, and Jay takes just inside with a changeup, 1-2. Jay's hitting just .209 against lefties, but he had a couple of hits last night. Hitting at .266 for the year, 17 home runs, and the curveball down, 2-2. Gio got 3 balls in the air for outs in the first inning, all on high fastballs. T.J. Rivera on deck, then Lucas Duda for the Mets in the second. Bryce Harper's home run accounting for the only run of this game. And Bruce pops one up. So another fastball popped up. That's 4 in a row for Gio to start the night as Rendon squeezes it one away. Now T.J. Rivera getting the start at second base tonight, with Neil Walker on the sidelines for at least a few weeks. The Mets, with both Walker and Harvey, were purposely vague about time frames. I think that's their new policy. They said with each that they'd be out several weeks, and obviously several is very fungible.
Yes.
So Walker has a partial tear of his left hamstring, and that's hit to left field, and Rivera, who had 3 hits last night, gets on a curveball and has the Mets' first hit tonight. The line drive machine.
Stays back on the breaking ball.
So 1 out and 1 on. Anyway, just to finish the story on Walker, when Neil talked to reporters before the game, he speculated that it would probably be about a month. So I think that's probably fair. Here's Duda, who's homered each of his last 2 games. Lucas hit the 3-run homer to put the game away in the 8th inning last night after Granderson had given the Mets the lead, and Gio works him inside, ball 1. Here's Walker last night trying to beat out a bunt.
There it is. That's called a flat tire.
Awful. It's always awful to see every single time.
Diagnosed with a partial tear of his left hamstring. Curveball misses, 2-0 to Duda. Lucas hitting just 160 against lefties this year. His home run last night was his 120th with the Mets. Ties him with Edgardo Alfonso for 9th on the Mets all-time list. Fonzie, whose son was drafted by the Mets this week.
Nice.
And a Bayside High School. 2-1 to Duda. Daniel Alfonso.
So where Howie's from? Bayside? I think so, right?
Yeah, but he didn't go to Bayside High. He went to Cardozo.
Oh.
Don't confuse the two.
I don't know all the, you know.
Bitter rivals now. Rene Rivera waits on deck. Duda fouls off the fastball, 2-2. Gio's fastball velocity is down this year. He's been averaging 90.2 this year with his fastball, which is about a mile an hour slower than last year. He's walked more hitters than he generally does, 4.3 walks per 9 innings, but his results have been terrific.
Well, this is a good team to pitch for. A team that scores plenty of runs. Maybe not at the back end of the game where they've struggled.
2-2 coming, and a check swing foul. Well, here's how you look at Gio's Washington career, right? That first year he came to Washington in 2012, he finished 3rd in the Cy Young balloting, 21-8, 2.89. The next 4 years combined, he was okay, but not nearly as good. 43-37, 3.82. But this year, 5-1, 2.91 to start the year. So he's off to the best start he has been since that first season in Washington 5 years ago. And Duda just gets a piece of the curve and rolls it out in front of the plate. And Wieters throws him out as Rivera takes second, 2 out. A big cut and a slowly hit ball.
Cued it.
See, that's twice to Duda that Gio took a little off his curveball. We never saw that with him. Always threw it as hard as he could. So now Rivera in scoring position and Rivera at the plate.
Mets do not use initials on the backs of their jerseys. Just Rivera and Rivera.
You know the difference.
No relation. Rene. TJ.
That's Wieters going out to tell Gio. You know, remember we had that meeting before the game and I told you you're going to go second sign? Just wanted to remind you. Or whatever sign they use.
Rene's first start since Sunday in Atlanta. He went 0 for 4, hitting .269 for the year, and he flies one out to right center. And Taylor takes care of that to retire the side. Mets get their first hit. Rivera's left stranding. 1-0 Nats after 2. Gsellman contemplating his start. Yoenis Cespedes looking fairly cool. Jose Reyes leaning up against the batting cage. TJ Rivera inspecting his bat. And Terry Collins taking more questions. What does Terry do all day except field questions?
Worst part of his day. 4 to 4:15.
So who's hurt? Who's in the lineup? Why are they not in the lineup? Trey Turner leading off in the third. It's a hot shot to Flores. Wilmer knocks it down, takes his time, and throws out Turner. One away.
Wow. That's why you always have your glove down. You don't have your glove down, that ball is through your legs.
That ball was hit so hard that even with maybe the fastest man in the National League running to first base, Wilmer still had plenty of time to inspect the signature and still throw him out.
That ball overpowered his glove hand.
So 1 out. Now Brian Goodwin takes a curveball up and away. Goodwin grounded out to short his first time up. 15th start for Goodwin since he was called up with the injuries in the Nats outfield. That's hit sharply, but right at Rivera. And there are 2 out. Not only are Eaton and Worth on the sidelines, but also Chris Heisey is out for the long term with a ruptured biceps. So they've got 3 outfielders on the shelf. Here's Harper. So I know you have the stats in front of you, Keith, and I don't know if you wanted to recite them, but the 116.3 miles per hour exit velocity for Bryce Harper on his home run was the highest he has ever been recorded at since they started measuring a couple of years ago.
That's astounding. Well,
I knew you were impressed by this exit velocity.
Well, this is a 2-iron, and usually when you hit a 2-iron, it leaves your club pretty quickly.
This one almost left the county pretty quickly.
And that is right there on the screws, as we would say.
Again, perfect count for him. 3-1 on the home run, 2-0 here against Gsellman.
Harper now with 19 career home runs against the Mets. So he's almost a third of the way to Stargell, and he's only 24 years old.
So you're telling me when he's a free agent, he's going to be 25 at the end of the 2018 season?
Maybe 26.
Maybe? Okay. That's amazing.
And they're already talking astronomical numbers for him.
And that's a 4-pitch walk. So Harper's on with Gsellman's first walk of the night. Well, he was the Rookie of the Year at age 19 in 2012, and then the MVP 3 years later. Had a rough year last year, but what a bounce back season he's having in 2017. Not quite the comeback year that his teammate Ryan Zimmerman's having, but still back to his MVP form. Now Zimmerman, who struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. I read a fascinating stat on Zimmerman today. He's got 80 hits this year. 25 of them have come on pitches out of the strike zone. It's the most hits of any player in the National League on pitches not in the strike zone. What does that tell you?
Well, whenever I think of Ryan Zimmerman, he's a guy that's not patient. He wants to swing the bat. Always has.
38 extra base hits. Almost half of his hits are extra bases. 19 doubles and 19 home runs in those 80 hits.
You know what they said, Keith? I was asking someone from Washington. They said he's covering the ball on the outside part of the plate better than he ever has.
He stands way away from the plate.
He's already got 4 home runs against the Mets this year. He's hitting .500 against Met pitching. So they've had a lot to do with Zimmerman's rebounding start. 32 years old now, first ever Nationals draft pick back in 2005 out of UVA. And Gsellman keeps it away from him, and he's behind again, 3-1. There are your National League RBI leaders. Probably the most surprising name on the list is Mark Reynolds.
Yeah.
Talk about resurgent seasons.
Oh, look at Blackmon. Blackmon's he's been a leadoff type hitter, and all of a sudden he's come into his own.
He's just a really good player.
Yes, he is.
And that's outside, ball 4, so back-to-back 2-out walks, and that'll get Murphy to the plate with 2 men on. There are no soft spots in the middle of this Nationals lineup.
And it's balanced.
So you pitch carefully to Harper and Zimmerman, and you jump right into the soup to face Murphy. Murphy hit a sharp ground ball to short that Reyes was unable to handle, and Murph got credit for a base hit.
You know, one of the things about Murph, he's a smart hitter. After 2 walks, what's a pitcher want to do? He wants to throw strike 1. He'll be ready.
Usually is anyway.
Yeah, right.
Stands on top of the plate.
See what happened with Murph the other night in the game they were playing against the Braves?
Yeah, with the umpire.
He was playing second base, and the umpire, the second base umpire, Alan Porter, was on the infield because there was a runner on, and he asked Porter to move, which is a routine request because Porter was in his way.
Line of sight.
Right. And Porter wouldn't move, which is really weird.
Yes, it is.
Up the middle. Reyes can't flag it down. Around third comes Harper. Lagares is thrown to the plate on a hop, and he's out at the plate. A strike from Lagares, a good pickup by Rivera, and Harper is gunned down to end the inning. Lagares playing very shallow as he has been, charging it hard and throwing a strike. And it had to be.
on the fly. Oh.
And no challenge from the Nats.
No,
Still 1-0 Washington. After the play was over, signaled to the umpiring crew that he wanted to challenge the play at the plate. Now we timed from the time the tag was made until the time Dusty signaled for the headset was 55 seconds. The rule is you're supposed to ask for the challenge within 30 seconds. The umpires went to the headsets. The call from Chelsea was confirmed, and Dusty loses his challenge. Now Terry came out to make sure that that was an actual challenge, but that challenge never should have been allowed according to the guidelines that the umpires have been given. And I don't know how in the world Brian Gorman thought to allow Dusty to challenge it after 55 seconds.
Yeah, I got him on the thigh. Good call by Brian.
There's your tag.
Boom.
Got him on the thigh.
Good job by Rivera, by the way. That's not easy. He had to almost dive at Harper.
So the Nats lose their challenge on one they never should have been allowed to challenge. We'll say Reyes leads off and takes a strike.
Interesting part of that challenge is that once they got on headset, it took them a shorter time than it took Dusty to initiate the headset review.
Reyes out to right, chasing Harper back to the warning track. He makes the catch. Harper wasn't sure how much room he had because he was playing so shallow, but he had plenty of room to make the grab for the first out. The thing is, they were on the headset such a short period of time. Our first thought was that maybe Chelsea told them, no, that shouldn't be allowed because he waited too long.
Yeah.
But then we got the announcement that they did confirm the call at the plate.
Now, just to clarify with the fans and for me, if Chelsea said, hey, that wasn't allowed, he was over the limit, does he still lose?
I don't know if it's up to Chelsea to tell them that, though.
Yeah.
I think it's up to the umpires on the field to enforce that 30-second rule. Now, again, the 30 seconds is a guideline as Gsellman pushes a bunt, and Gio's flip is just in time. Gio almost lost that play with that nonchalant underhand flip.
I mean, Gsellman's busting.
Ooh. Got him by half a stride. Lost in all the talk about the review is the throw that Lagares made.
Well, the throw, it's up close because Lagares really, what makes this so easy for Juan with the strong arm is, well, he charges so quickly. He charges the ball beautifully. That cuts down your space, your distance of your throw. When Lagares throws in the shallow outfield, you can forget it.
His origins as an infielder play in the outfield. That's how you charge a ball in the infield.
It started out as a shortstop in the minor leagues. Gio runs one inside. It's 2-0.
So the Nationals have squandered some opportunities here early in this ball game. See if that comes back and nips them.
Changeup for a strike. 2-0 changeup to Lagares.
It's more like a get me over fastball.
Yeah.
Just 2-0. Let me just take a little off. You get pop-ups on that pitch too.
That's lashed foul. Low bridging Glenn Sherlock. And seeing that hard hit foul ball reminds us that the Mets announced today that after the All-Star break they will have extended netting that will go to the ends, not only past the dugout but to the end of the photo box beyond the dugout to help protect the fans. Something that teams were recommended to do last year, and the Mets, after careful study, have decided to indeed extend that netting. Not only the full netting to the end of the photo box, but also a little bit further, a lower piece of netting where that low wall is. Fly ball out to center field, and it's a great step in the right direction.
Bravo.
Lagares retired on the fly ball to Taylor. Gonzalez looking sharp early. 1 hit through 3, and he's got a 1-0 lead. Looking to help local football leagues in need with grants, equipment, donations, clinics, and special Jets experiences. Does your league need assistance? Apply today at sny.tv/playball.
Do you need assistance, Gary?
You're reading that one tomorrow. Here's Anthony Rendon leading off in the 4th inning. Rendon hit a double off the third base bag his first time up. So Rendon now 7 for his last 7 against the Mets.
Oh, wow.
Cut. I don't know what he was expecting there.
That's called a wave.
What does that come from? You decide to swing, and then at the very last second, you don't want to swing?
I think he said, I don't want to swing, and then I do want to swing, and then I don't want to swing. I think it's a triple.
A triptych.
Spectrum high-speed pitch. Gsellman by 3. Rendon fouls it off. Before his big day against the Mets on April 30th, Rendon was hitting .226. Raised his average 52 points that day. Didn't have a home run before that game,
right,
and had driven in only 5 runs. And he had 3 home runs that day and drove in 10. It was his Scooter Gennett day. Just missing the 4th home run.
Dave Fried gave me his numbers against the Mets career: 286, 12 home runs, and 46 RBI in 65 games. So Rendon's had some good games.
You were able to read it?
And the curveball gets him looking. Second strikeout for Gsellman, 1 down in the 4th. Well, this was the day back in April when Rendon had maybe the best offensive day anybody's ever had against the Mets. Sean Gilmartin victimized there. Again and again. Fernando Salas gives up the double off the wall.
Oh, and then he gets the one off Plawecki.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Oh, that's right.
He could have had 4 home runs, you know, that game. That wasn't that
Didn't
one
miss
line
by much against Salas.
Doggone right. Everything was hit hard.
By the way, Plawecki has not pitched since. He did hit a home run for Vegas last night.
2 in a row. He's had home runs 2 days in a row.
So the Mets finally get Rendon out. Now Wieters, who flied to center his first time up. Well, Gsellman's already worked himself out of a couple of difficult spots. Nats at 2nd and 3rd and nobody out in the 2nd and did not score. And then back-to-back 2-out walks in the 3rd. Murphy got the base hit, but Lagares gunned down Harper at the plate.
Gsellman has shown me that he doesn't wilt under when the going gets tough. You got to beat him.
Hit hard past Duda and down the line, and that'll go all the way into the deep corner. Wieters cruises into second base with a 1-out double. So another runner in scoring position for the Nationals. Wieters' 11th double of the year.
A rare breaking pitch from Gsellman, pulled down that line and past Lucas.
Wieters would sit there and go, I would rather have that one on my first at bat when I had 2 men on.
So 5 hits now against Gsellman, and now the number 8 hitter Taylor, who had a soft liner to short to the second baseman his first time up.
What happens is that I don't know if the Mets do this, but Rivera gives 4 or 5 signs around his chest protector, his shin guards, his helmet, and some teams use that as an indicator to what sign they're going to use as the truck comes out. But Rivera, I'm not sure if the Mets do that. Gsellman, though, wasn't sure what pitch to throw. That's why he stepped off.
Always better to know than to guess.
Yeah.
Wieters at second with 1 out. And Taylor takes a rip at a fastball, 0-1.
Another pitch upstairs.
Well, when Gsellman was struggling early, he was getting worn out by right-handers because he couldn't spot that fastball in the outside corner. It was drifting back over the middle to the righties.
The splits on Gsellman are crazy. Righties hitting .333 against him. The lefties just .204. And now he's ahead on Taylor, 0-2. Michael Taylor, now 26 years old. He's had a couple of opportunities in the past to take a job and run with it. But he's a lifetime .235 hitter.
Well, if he had taken it and run with it, they wouldn't have traded for Adam Eaton.
Right. I mean, 2 years ago, he was virtually an everyday player. because of injuries. Just off the corner, 1-2.
He's had a couple pitches down that he has not gotten. One against Zimmerman, this one against Taylor. So Brian Gorman letting you know that he likes to call that pitch a little higher,
which certainly works into Gio Gonzalez's game plan tonight. He's been throwing that fastball up in the zone and getting a bunch of pop-ups. Zellman more of a low ball pitcher. That's on the corner, strike 3 call.
Good pitch.
Second strikeout of the inning, third of the night for Gsellman. 2 men down.
That's the one that comes back. That's a good pitch. Starts off the plate and sinks back over the outside corner. Taylor thought it was outside. Could have been right.
Nice frame by Rivera.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So 2 out. Now Gio Gonzalez, who came up with a couple in scoring position and 2 out in the second, hit one behind the second base bag, and Reyes made a nice play and threw him out. Gio appeared to tweak something in his side during that at bat, but it certainly has not appeared to have any effect on him going back to the mound. He pokes at that side again.
Maybe just a spasm, because that was a Ruthian cut there by God.
He's got 3 home runs in his career. Last one came 3 years ago. And he bloops that one into shallow center. On comes Lagares. He can't get there. Drops in for a hit. The throw to the plate too late. And Wieters slides in safely. And it's 2-0 Nationals. Gio Gonzalez drives in his 5th run of the year with a bloop single.
Can't play in enough. This is just so well placed. And with 2 outs, you got to score on that one.
That's the only way Wieters is going to score from second on a play like that, is with 2 out. So Gsellman unable to sidestep that jam, and now faces Trey Turner. First pitch curveball hit up toward the middle. Rivera on the backhand, the flip, and Reyes gets the bag. Gio didn't slide, and that's the 3rd out.
Gio.
Let's get a little bit of a break there. TJ able to field it in the webbing and get the force play, but Gonzalez's bloop single with 2 out drives and a run. There's your 4-6 fielder's choice. Got to slide, Gio.
You've been safe.
This makes players hate pitchers, by the way.
Cost me a hit. I'm going to make an error on you. I'm going to boot one.
I mean,
I mean, I've given them a great number of thrills, and they've been equally returned. And the ovation I got the other night.
You going to miss them, Tom? Not only would Seaver miss the fans would miss him. And the same could be said of Dave Kingman, who was also traded the same night. It was an emotional transformation, and June 15, 1977 will forever be remembered as the Midnight Massacre.
Come on, George.
The iconic player in Mets history was traded 40 years ago tonight on what used to be the trading deadline, June 15th, which has been a happy day at times in Mets history, right, Keith? But on that date in 1977, maybe the worst day in Mets history. That's a trivia question from Verizon. Who were the 4 players the Mets received from the Reds for Tom Seaver? My contention is if you're over 50,
everyone
you know this by heart.
Yeah.
If you're under 50, maybe not.
My favorite part of that piece is at the very end where he implores himself to pull it together. Come on, George.
George Thomas Seaver. Wilmer Flores leads off in the home 4th. Mets down 2-0. Wilmer popped short his first time up. Gio Gonzalez has given up just 1 hit through the first 3. And Wilmer grounds one down to third. That's a fair ball, and Rendon throws him out. 1 away.
I think, guys, in the post today, Gary, you mentioned in Ronnie, and I was the last to read the story. I'm always the last to know. But Mike Vaccaro, he wrote a terrific column today in the New York Post about that Seaver trade, everything that led up to it.
Well, there was a battle of the tabloids, which had something to do with it. You know, Dick Young, who was probably the most influential baseball columnist in town, took the side of management and really trashed Seaver and took the side of M. Donald Grant, the chairman of the board, where Maury Allen in the Post took Seaver's side. And it was at the advent of free agency in Major League Baseball, and the Mets wanted to have nothing to do with free agency. Tom had seen Wayne Garland, who was a journeyman pitcher, get a 10-year contract. He wanted to renegotiate and you know, get what he was worth, which was everything to the Mets, and ownership had other ideas.
Well, I haven't heard too many players that have come down the pike in the Met uniform that speak.
That's drilled to the gap in left center field by Cespedes, and that'll go all the way back to the wall. And Cespedes pulls into second base with a 1-out double, and he continues to fire coming off the disabled list.
Watch him get on top of this high fastball. This is what I'm talking about. That's a tomahawk. And that's how you hit a bolt on a high pitch and not swing through it. But back to my point, Ronnie knows too, a lot of the Met players, I can find hardly anybody that speaks very highly of M. Donald Grant. A very difficult man, evidently.
Here's Jay Bruce, who popped up his first time up. Cespedes at second and 1 out. So the Mets have a runner in scoring position for the second time tonight. That's pulled down the line. That's a base hit going into the corner. That'll bring in Cespedes with the first Met run. Bruce hustles to second and stops there. Back-to-back doubles for Cespedes and Bruce, and it cuts the Nats lead to 2-1. 46th run batted in for Jay.
Want to come inside, and you do at your own peril with Jay. Jay, particularly against the left-handers, he likes that ball in.
Just his 4th hit in 22 career at-bats against Gio Gonzalez. And now the Mets have the tying run in scoring position with 1 out. T.J. Rivera coming up. T.J. had 3 hits last night and had the Mets' first hit tonight, a single through the hole into left. That sails up and away, ball 1.
Back elbow of Bruce, but he's, again, you can see he had to really rush to get that bat through. It was an inside corner fastball, so always trust the quickness of your hands. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have bat speed. Only the 220, 210 hitters have slow bats.
was Tom Seaver to the Mets. Consider this. In his first 10 seasons before he got traded, 182 wins in his first 10 seasons. Nobody in the 40 years since has come close to that in the first 10 years of their career. The closest was Roger Clemens. He missed by 19. 163 wins. And that's why they called him the franchise. And here's the funny thing, you know, Seaver pitched in 2 World Series for the Mets in '69 and '73. He was traded to a Reds team that had been the world champions the previous 2 years in '75 and '76. Never got to a World Series with them. 2-1 to TJ. And foul tips that fastball. 2-2. In fact, Tom made only 1 postseason start the rest of his career. That was in the '79 LCS for the Reds against the Pirates.
We are a family. The Pittsburgh Lumber Company, and they were a lumber company.
Bruce at second with 1 out. And Rivera pops 1 foul.
Gary, I was 16 when that trade happened. You just a little bit older. What were your memories of that day?
Well, we kind of knew it was coming because it had been rumored that the Mets were trying to trade Seaver, but the reality of it really didn't hit home until later that summer when Seaver came back to pitch at Shea Stadium as a Red, and the entire ballpark was rooting for Seaver.
Wow.
That was something else. Inside the TJ, 3-2.
Rivera's got a little bit of that in him. He just gets on that plate too, Keith, and just short strokes you.
Well, he's a swinger, that's for sure. It's like Murph's taking a Sunday stroll.
Holding the runner and getting in position.
Pulled down to third, a foul ball. One of the reasons Gio Gonzalez has been so successful this year is he has limited damage. Coming into the night with runners in scoring position, opponents were hitting 111, 7 for 63 against Gio. But Bruce comes up with a hit there to drive in a run, and now TJ trying to do the same. Only Yu Darvish has a lower batting average against with runners in scoring position among major league starters. 8th pitch of the at bat coming to TJ Rivera with Duda on deck. And he flies 1 foul. That'll go out of play.
You know, Gary, I know some of those jams are not independent of fielding, right? How your fielders play in those cases. But I always think that is such a huge stat for a starting pitcher. He should be out there longer than the relievers, is because very few, maybe Kershaw and other guys when they're at their best, everyone has people on base. Every starting pitcher has people on base. How do you pitch and get out of jams? That determines your entire year.
By the way, speaking of Kershaw, you know when he pitches next?
Against the Mets?
No, Sunday. Mets play a 4-game series in LA next week, and they miss Kershaw.
Wow.
Barring rainouts. Ninth pitch coming to TJ. And he pops one up into shallow left. Turner out. Goodwin in. Turner makes the grab. 2 out. Road Ahead presented by GMC. Game 2 of this series tomorrow night on SNY. Saturday and Sunday on Pix 11. Then it's off to LA for those 4 games, and then 3 in San Francisco. Then the Mets go to Miami for 3, so a long road trip.
California bound, Keith.
Yes, good to see my brother and my nephew and niece, and the Giants, who are at the bottom of the heap in the West. Crazy. Wow.
I mean, they've been awful. 15 games under 500 now. And in a division where 3 teams are at least 15 games over 500, that presents quite a conundrum for the Giants. You wonder whether they're going to start trading off parts when they get toward the trading deadline, because they've got a lot of people that teams in contention would want. I mean, those 3 teams have all played extraordinarily well. Rockies, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. Dodgers lost this afternoon. Rich Hill got beat up in Cleveland, knocking them out of first place for the moment.
I mean, the Giants can conceivably have 50 losses at the halfway mark, the mathematic halfway mark. 100-loss season. Wow. Long way to go, but
Gonzalez ahead 0-2 on Duda. And Lucas takes the fastball outside, 1-2. Pops one up. Rendon waiting for it. Side retired. Back-to-back doubles by Cespedes and Bruce played a run. Tom Seaver traded 40 years ago today. Ford Now sales event is on. For huge savings, go to buyfordnow.com. 2-1 Nationals as we go to the fifth. Robert Gsellman allowed a first inning home run to Bryce Harper. An RBI single to the pitcher Gio Gonzalez in the fourth. Mets scratched a run back on back-to-back doubles by Cespedes and Bruce. It's a great look at the ballpark from above, isn't it? This really is such a pretty stadium.
It really is.
Are we allowed to say stadium anymore?
I don't think so. Ballpark.
Field.
Field.
Park. You call it.
George Carlin was alive. He'd had something on that.
Yes, he would. Brian Goodwin leads off. Goodwin's been up twice and grounded out both times against Gsellman. Bryce Harper on deck, and then Ryan Zimmerman in the fifth. Third time around the batting order for Gsellman. That's a drive toward left center field, headed toward the gap. And it's off the wall on the fly. Goodwin racing for second. Lagares' throw comes in too late, and Goodwin has a leadoff double. So Brian Goodwin has been swinging the bat very well of late for the Nationals. Gets them started in the fifth.
Well, this is how you handle a right-hand sinker baller. Is you don't try to play into his game and roll it over to pull the ball. Hit it where it's pitched, right into that upfield gap. This ball's off the wall. Another opportunity for Washington to score here. They've left men on base.
Goodwin was up in the air for a while as TJ was putting on that tag.
I just told our truck he could. That was very close.
That's one of those calls that never would have even thought about before replay, but
Well, it's a stylish slide. You kind of pop up, but when you pop up, your foot comes off the bag.
Ooh, close.
I think he got on, but
Yeah, but that was really close.
too close.
These guys need to get the sliding pants on.
Imagine being called out on a play like
Oh my goodness. An important series like this. I mean, Washington could put the hammer down here in this 4-game series.
that. Harper is at a line drive home run and walk tonight. Tom asked for.
Now,
Oh boy, he just.
I mean, that was within a millimeter of being an out. Nick Lentz, the second base umpire, was right on top of it and correctly called him safe, but way too close.
I'll tell you, if this was a last season, this would be the easiest decision in the world right here. With Zimmerman up next, right? Harper up, but he's so red hot, you got to pitch to Harper.
Even with that, Harper leads the league in intentional walks. He's already got 10 this year of his 41 walks. Zellman walked him on 4 pitches last time, but he's ahead this time 0-2. And that's line to left, but right at Cespedes. And that's the first out of the inning.
Harper does not get the job done. A dead pull hitter in a situation where you got to pull the ball and does not get it done. I know it's easier said than done up here, but he can't be happy with himself with that at bat.
Do you want your big slugger to be thinking about that?
He's a dead pull hitter. I don't know why he would change his approach there. I mean, if you're going to get a sinker baller like this guy and wants to live on the outside corner, then you can move closer to the plate. You've got more coverage on the outside corner. You've got to advance a runner there.
Just to play devil's advocate, though, he hit a line drive.
A ball down the pipe. So what's your point?
My point is that you've got your big slugger up there. Would you rather have him thinking about hitting to a particular part of the field or think about hitting the ball hard, which he did?
I would rather have him looking to find something that he could pull. He's a dead pull hitter, drive in the run, and secondary advance him.
Laced into right, a base hit for Zimmerman. Goodwin had to hold up to make sure Rivera wasn't going to catch it, so he'll stop at third. And Zimmerman has his first hit of the night.
Boy, that was a bullet.
Gary, let me just we'll look at this swing. And this is the Zimmerman we used to love when he was just going that way. That's a beautiful angle.
Did you see Rivera move over about 6 feet and still wasn't enough?
You had to freeze here. You're not sure. It's good. Good base running by Goodwin. Can't get doubled up. My point on Harper as a left-hand hitter, as Dan Warthen is going to give me a little talking time here. Thank you, Dan. Is right-hander has to go the other way. Some guys know how to do it, like Zimmerman. We just saw him drive. Other guys have a difficult time. They have to give themselves up. You don't want them to give themselves, your RBI guys, to give themselves up with nobody out. Left-hand hitters, it's easy to pull the ball. It's much easier and not give yourself up. You look for a pitch. Now, Gsellman threw him well. They kept on the corners. But if you know you're going to get a sinker out there.
But with 2 strikes.
2 strikes, you got to go to hitting.
But it was 2 strikes. So would you rather him roll over that ball and kind of give himself up on a ground ball to second, or you want to try and hit hard to left, which he did?
Well, you're in the middle of a ball game and it's 2-1. What do you think?
I don't know.
I think sometimes as a big hitter in the middle of the lineup, you got to get the job done.
Murphy grounds one under the glove of Duda and down the line. Goodwin is in to score. Zimmerman racing for third. He's being waved around. Bruce having trouble coming up with the ball. And 2 runs will score. Murphy winds up at third. And it's 4-1 Washington. A hard hit ball, but it went right under Duda's glove. And Murphy winds up driving in 2 with his 3rd hit of the night.
He's just a Met killer.
Well, if Duda gets this ball, it might be a double play, but
under the glove, you're right. That ball was very playable. It was a bullet. He got the glove there. It's just got underneath it. And here's the play that gave the trouble to Bruce right by him, and that's all she wrote there.
They're going to score at a triple, 2 RBIs for Murphy. So he's 3 for 3. Infield comes in, and Rendon takes a strike. Well, Murph has been great, but he's also hit 2 playable balls tonight, one to Reyes and one to Duda, that have both gone for base hits. And that is a continuing saga with this Mets infield. The batting average on ground balls to Met infield, ground balls against the Mets infield, is 30 points higher than it is in the league average. Wow. They just don't get to as many balls on the infield as your average major league team. And now missing 2 starters on that infield with Walker and Cabrera out of the lineup. And it all goes against the pitcher's record because they're not errors. But it certainly has an impact on the pitching staff, and I would think on their mentality about how they go about their business.
Rafael Montero up in the bullpen. I look at it this way. I'm not saying that Duda's got to turn 2, but he's got to knock that down somehow, some way.
Rendon flares one into shallow center. Lagares coming on, diving. He can't make the catch. Murphy comes in to score, and it's 5-1 Washington. Well, Lagares did everything he could to try and make that play. Just couldn't quite cover the ground.
It's the 3rd blooper to center field. Juan has covered one of them.
Well,
this is a great effort.
With the infield in, if the infield's back, not that you're going to have it back, but there was no one out there as an infielder to try to make that play. It was all on Juan, and boy, just off the end of his glove.
Watch the third base runner Murph. He should be halfway. Can't tag up and score. Well done.
So 3 runs home in the inning, and now Matt Wieters, and he bounces one foul.
Can't get to all of them all the time. Just off the tip. It's a game of inches.
He has been intimately involved in this game defensively, hasn't he? He's already thrown out a runner at the plate, almost threw out a runner at second base. He had the Gio Gonzalez bloop that fell just beyond his reach, and now another bloop that he just couldn't catch. That most center fielders probably don't get close to. Wieters had a double and scored a run his last time up in the 4th. Well, this high-powered Nationals offense, other than the Harper home run in the 1st inning, has kind of pinged Gsellman to death.
But you know what? You just hang in there, because this bullpen of Washington has let this club down. They've had big leads. They've blown a lot of leads this year.
And they really don't have an established order in their bullpen. Wieters taps one to 3rd. Flores goes to 2nd, gets the out there. Rivera to 1st in the dirt. Duda scoops it out, but a shade too late. So they settle for the force on Rendon for the 2nd out, and Wieters reaches safely.
Well, Wilmer came and got that ball, tried his best to turn it. Good pick by Duda, but not in time.
So Wieters at first with 2 out, and now Michael Taylor, the 7th man up in the inning. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Well, the Nationals lead the league in runs scored, lead the league in home runs, lead the league in batting average and on base percentage and slugging percentage. 13 games over 500, and now Ray Ramirez and Terry Collins have a concern about Juan Lagares after trying to make that diving effort in center field.
I want to say maybe the ball rolled up on his ribs. It rolled over the ball, rolled up his ribs. Oh, he's
looking at that
thumb.
thumb, and remember, that's the thumb that he hurt last year when he tried to make that diving catch against Ichiro Suzuki. And that cost him a lot of time on the disabled list.
You've got to be kidding me.
And that left thumb is the concern again for Juan Lagares.
Oh, my goodness.
He'll stay in for the moment. Did he jam it into the ground again?
Well, when you catch it on the backhand like that, what's going to hit first? Kind of your thumb, isn't it? See how it goes right into the sod?
Well, that's how Cabrera hurt his thumb. And it's how Lagares hurt his last year.
It's bent back.
0-1 to Taylor. And he hits one out to Lagares, deep center field. One going back to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here.
Oh, my.
Michael Taylor with a 2-run homer. And the Nationals putting together a 5-run 5th inning. Taylor's 7th home run of the year makes it 7-1 Washington.
Boy, oh boy, this ball is dead central, right down the pipe.
Well, this is what you can get from Michael Taylor at times. It's just tremendous power.
Gio Gonzalez now has himself a 6-run lead. He flies one out to right field. Bruce puts it away to end the inning, but not before the Nats score 5. Taylor caps it with a 2-run homer. Halfway through at Citi Field, 7-1 Washington. On the strength of a 5-run 5th inning, have built a 7-1 lead in the opener of this 4-game series. Your 4th 5th inning recap. Bryce Harper opened the scoring with a home run in the 1st inning. Michael Taylor capping that 5-run inning with a 2-run homer in the 5th. Daniel Murphy along the way, 3 for 3, triple, 2 RBIs. What else is new? Juan Lagares apparently re-injuring that bulky left thumb. It was last year against Miami, well, down in Miami, that he tried to make this catch against Ichiro Suzuki and first injured that thumb, jamming that left thumb into the ground. And that cost him considerable time on the disabled list.
Remember, he tried to play through it for a while until he went and got it operated on.
Mets will have the lower third of the order up in the home 5th. Rene Rivera leads off. Now I'm wondering, I don't know if you guys noticed, we had that delay when Terry Collins and Ray Ramirez went out to look at Lagares. Maybe 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
Did Gesellman throw a warm-up pitch during that time?
I didn't see him throw one, but that doesn't mean he didn't, because I was trying to watch both places.
And then the very next pitch, Taylor hit out of the ballpark.
Isn't that the lament of all the Red Sox fans when Bucky Dent, before he hit the home run off Mike Torres?
That's right.
He fouled it off his foot, and Mike didn't throw a warm-up. First pitch, home run.
Deep to left. That was Bill White. Here's the 2-1. Good change up by Gio, 2-2.
I've wiped that from my memory, Gary.
Sorry.
I got to watch that game at college with many New York friends. It was difficult to take.
That was a big play, but how about the play that Lou Piniella made on a ball he never saw
On the sun.
in right field?
It was the Sun field, and he came in, and at one hop, and he put his glove up, and it went right in the glove. Not that I remember anything.
Don't get calm down. Take it easy, Ronnie.
Granderson's getting the eye black, which looks like he may be coming in the game. That's hit toward the gap in right center, chasing away from Taylor near the wall. It's out of here. Wow. Rene Rivera with an opposite field home run, his third of the year. That was smashed. And cuts the Nationals' lead to 7-2. We've seen Rene hit some home runs. I'm not sure we've seen him hit one in that direction.
I did not know he had that in him. And boy, this is a bullet. Got it right on the screws, went right with it.
Now Reyes, who fly deep to right his first time up. Gavin Cecchini has come out on deck to pinch hit, ready to make his season debut for the Mets. That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of Citi. There's a good curveball by Gio to strike out Reyes. Wieters finds the baseball and makes the toss. That is the first strikeout of the night for Gio Gonzalez. Now 23-year-old Gavin Cecchini will make his season debut. Former Mets first-round draft pick back in 2012 out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Gavin had 6 at-bats for the Mets last year. Had a couple of doubles. Josh Edgen up in the bullpen as Cecchini bats for Robert Gesellman, who's done after 5 innings. And Curtis Granderson's out on deck to bat for Juan Lagares, so it's like that thumb is going to take Lagares out of the game. And the Mets have yet another injury concern to deal with. Cecchini was called up today with Neil Walker going on the DL. And he screws himself right into the ground trying to hit that curveball. It's 0-2. It's not been a very good offensive year for Gavin. He was hitting just .249 at Vegas after a tremendous offensive year last year when he hit .325. Changeup misses 1 and 2. And Cecchini goes down swinging on the curveball. Back-to-back strikeouts for Gonzalez, 2 out. And now Granderson will bat for Lagares.
Oh, he's lunging right there, way out in front. That's one to put in way back in the top drawer under all the socks. Throw it away. Lose it.
Well, now you understand why perhaps he's having such a rough year in AAA.
Well, it's one at bat. It's first at bat up here in the big leagues. A little nervous.
Well, here's Curtis, who had a big milestone moments last night. Tie game, 8th inning. Hit one into the seats in right field for his 300th career home run that gave the Mets the lead. And Gio's quickly ahead of him 0-2.
So once again, due to injury, Terry Collins 2 nights in a row has his bench just about bled dry.
Well, all he's got left now is Michael Conforto and Travis d'Arnaud. Pitchers be ready to hit.
Goodness gracious.
By the way, we were speculating about Rene Rivera and opposite field home runs. That was the 29th home run of his career, only the second he's ever hit to right field. Off the thumbs, a foul ball. Well, this was Curtis last night in the 8th inning.
Curveball. Congratulations. A game winner, too.
A nice catch, too. And Curtis got the baseball for his trophy case.
Great.
Got a curtain call. He lines this one and caught. Trey Turner snags it to end the inning. Mets get a run on the Rene Rivera home run, but no more against Gio Gonzalez in the bottom of the 5th. We go to the 6th at Citi Field, 7-2 Washington.
Answer for us. We don't necessarily view him as a short-term fix. Sort of an overriding desire on our part is that when he comes up, he never goes back. And we want to make sure that the circumstances are best to achieve that result.
Josh Edgin will pitch the 6th inning for New York.
32nd game for Edgin.
Tonight's quote of the game presented by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. Sandy Alderson before the game today was asked yet again why it was not Ahmed Rosario who was called up with Neil Walker going on the disabled list.
I don't think you can view this situation that narrowly. I think you have to look at both his progress and development as well as the composition of the team currently. I know there's a lot of speculation about whether Rosario will come off if so-and-so is hurt and why not. 2 days later, somebody else goes down. He's not here. Why not? There are a couple of things. First of all, we have some good players here. Perhaps as importantly, if not more importantly, we view Rosario as a possible long-term answer for us. We don't necessarily view him as a short-term fix. Sort of an overriding desire on our part is that when he comes up, he never goes back. And we want to make sure that the circumstances are best to achieve that result.
Well, second time this week that the Mets have declined to bring up Rosario after an injury to a middle infielder. First when Asdrubal Cabrera went on the disabled list, and now when Neil Walker goes out. Cabrera, 21 years old, hitting .333 in AAA. Meanwhile, Wilmer Flores on a routine ground ball just made a throwing error to give the Nats a leadoff base runner. Trey Turner is on, and Brian Goodwin takes low for ball one.
It's a loose play by Wilmer. It's almost like he doesn't know that Trey Turner is probably the fastest guy in the league, or one of the fastest guys in the league.
Goodwin had a double to left center to start the 5-run 5th inning for the Nats, and Edgin gets a knee-high strike, and it's 1-1. Robert Gsellman went 5 innings through 83 pitches, 7 runs, 11 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 2 home runs. Most earned runs he's ever given up in a major league game. Turner 22 stolen bases, second to Billy Hamilton in the National League.
If you don't have a lot of range in your infield, you've got to make that play, and every play like it.
That's lined into right center, a base hit for Goodwin. Granderson chasing it down. Turner to third. He's being waved around. The relay throw to the plate by Rivera is offline, and Turner scores. It's a double for Goodwin, and it's 8-2 Washington. And T.J. Rivera seemed shocked that Trey Turner tried to score and did not make a good relay throw.
Well, the Mets getting caught flat-footed. This ball's nicely stroked into the right center field gap, and you can take nothing for granted here. It's a perfect relay, and Turner never stopped. And give credit to third base coach Bob Henley. He gave him the go.
Yep.
He slowed up for some reason, like he didn't think he could score.
Well, Henley was waving him all the way, and he scored easily. Now Bryce Harper fouls back. We all know they take liberties against Granderson.
Well, Rivera did not hesitate at all. He knew he had to throw home. It was not a good strong arm throwing home. That ball bled and sunk into the runner.
So it's an unearned run to tack on for the Nats, and they lead 8-2. And the slider misses to Harper, who got it started for Washington tonight with a bullet of a home run into the seats in right field, his 17th of the year. Since then, he's walked and lined out to left. Rafael Montero up for a second time in the Mets bullpen. By the way, that's one matter we have not discussed in the wake of Matt Harvey's injury. Matt going on the shelf with a stress injury, which is something, I guess, shy of a stress fracture. It's not a fracture.
Yeah.
It's a stress injury to the scapula behind his right shoulder, and the Mets have again put on the vague timetable of several weeks that they expect Matt to be out. But the Mets are going to continue, at least for the moment, with a 6-man rotation, which means somebody has to take Matt's spot, and Montero is here. He's been a starter. Tyler Pill has started games for the Mets. He's down in Vegas. Could be one of them. It could be somebody else who gets a start next week in Los Angeles.
It didn't seem like it was going to be someone outside of the organization. It seemed like it was going to be someone from within.
Sandy Alderson was asked about Tommy Malone, who has started some games but went out with an injury, and he said he will not be ready. He's made, as Sandy put it, no progress. The other medical report today was on Josh Smoker, who went on the disabled list yesterday. Remember, he pitched 4 innings in relief night before last. They said that he had a strained shoulder. He had an MRI on his shoulder and elbow. They said the shoulder is fine, but he has loose bodies in his elbow. Anti-inflammatories, rest for Smoker. Harper strikes out on the slider, and Edgin has the first out of the inning. So they just keep on coming, one after another after another. And on top of that, the news that Noah Syndergaard was examined today as he tries to make his way back from the torn lat muscle, and was told it will be at least 4 weeks before he can pick up a baseball.
Yeah, that's
so that takes you to the middle of July, and if you start the clock there, then you're talking at best late August if Syndergaard is able to come back this year.
And then you better be in a race.
Here's Zimmerman, who's walked and singled tonight, 1 for 2. Jerry's Familia was supposed to see his doctor today in St. Louis. Doctor who performed the operation on the blood clot in his shoulder. No information yet on that meeting. But another long-term injury the Mets are keeping their eye on. One thing that Sandy Alderson did say about Rosario, he said the anticipation is that Asdrubal Cabrera will only be out the 10 days on the disabled list with a thumb injury. If it proves to be a longer term injury than that, he said that changes the equation.
Okay.
So that's worth noting. Hit to short. Reyes in front of it. The runner will hold. And another low throw. Boy, there hasn't been a clean infield play all day. 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Taylor Rooks as a game break brought to you by your Tri Honda dealers. All right, Taylor. So the Dodgers 6-game winning streak comes to an end as Rich Hill got hammered today. Here's Daniel Murphy, who's already 3 for 3 today. An infield single, a ground single to center, and then a triple under Duda's glove that drove in 2 runs and really started to break this game open in the 5th inning. And Murph takes a slider for a strike. One day a pitch will go by and Murph will have nothing to say. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just part of his game. It's just that's his deal. Everyone relaxes or gets ready in between pitches in different ways. Most guys kind of quiet, thinking about it. Murph needs to talk to folks.
It's quite engaging.
Can rake, you know that.
He's now 41 for 102 against the Mets. That is 402. He's
Balk.
A balk called against Edgin, and that'll move.
I mean, what else?
Good one over to third.
Little flinch. See, see that?
Yep.
Just moved his shoulder like he was coming up and then went back down. He can't do it.
So good one at third with 2 out, and Murphy fouls off the slider. This Sunday is a McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Nationals at 1:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets Father's Day cap presented by Nathan's Famous. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. And Murphy strokes one out to left. Cespedes has it lined up. Murphy retired for the first time tonight, but the Nats add an unearned run and lead it 8-2 as we go to the bottom of the 6th at Citi Field. Back-to-back doubles for Cespedes and Bruce produced 1 run. Rene Rivera's home run produced another run. The Nats have scored 6 more runs than that. And the Mets are down 8-2 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Gio Gonzalez, 75 pitches deep into his night, trying to keep the Nats out of the bullpen for as long as possible. That has been their Achilles heel this year. Wilmer Flores leads off. The key with the Nats is to stay close enough to get into their bullpen late and give yourself a chance.
Even not so close sometimes, but you know, Gio, we pointed out that he might have his first at bat maybe tweaked something on his side, but here he is pitching well into the 6th inning. What new at Citi Field for Gio?
Wilmer is 0 for 2 tonight, popped up and grounded out. Gio keeping the ball inside to him, 2-1. Wilmer's bat is cooled just a tad, 1 for his last 14 after a very long hot streak. He gets one off the hands, a foul ball, 2-2.
1 for his last 14 in the middle of facing a lot of left-handed pitching.
Cespedes and Bruce to follow. Well, facing Gio Gonzalez, particularly at Citi Field, is rough duty. But tomorrow the Mets face Max Scherzer. Saturday they face Steven Strasburg. This Nats rotation is difficult to contend with. Fly ball out to right, and Harper barely has to move. 1 out. Let's take a look at our cheap pitch cast. Gio Gonzalez in the 5th inning.
What's interesting about the curveballs from Gio, if he starts in the middle of the plate, that's the one he wants to bounce for a strikeout. If he starts it high in the strike zone, that's the one that will be a strike. Watch this one to Granderson. Starts it high, almost at the shoulders of Granderson, and bends it over the strike zone.
He's only struck out 2 tonight, but he's held the Mets to 4 hits over 5 1/3. Hasn't walked a batter. Cespedes drove a double to left center and scored the first Met run. Taking all the way, a call strike. So Cespedes against Gio Gonzalez now 7 for 12 with 2 home runs. And he's hitting .500 since he came off the disabled list. I mean, they're being very careful with him. He had the heel problem, which was not part of his rehab. As far as the Mets were concerned, was a new problem, although Cespedes said it's something that has plagued him for years.
I thought he had some heel issues last year, but maybe
It's hard to keep track sometimes. Last year was mainly the quad, but he also had that hip injury.
Maybe that's what it was.
And Cespedes strikes out on the curveball, looking bad doing it. That's the 3rd strikeout for Gio.
That is a rarity right there, folks, to see Cespedes get fooled like this.
Well, fooled on a breaking ball.
Yep. You don't see that.
So 2 out in the home 6th, and now Jay Bruce, who drove in the first Met run with a double down the right field line. 3 infielders on the right side against Jay. And he takes a curveball for a strike. Questions Brian Gorman about it. And another one. 0-2. Pride of Hialeah, Florida, Gio Gonzalez. Where they have the grand old racetrack.
That's right.
Strike 3 call, got him looking at a fastball. Side retired. 1-2-3 inning for Gio. His 4th strikeout of the night. After 6, 8-2 Washington. amazing theme parks, including the all-new Universal Volcano Bay Water Theme Park, plus stay on site at Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter the Toyota Fan Flyaway Sweepstakes today. We have bad injury news on Juan Lagares. X-ray shows a fracture of the IP joint of his left thumb. That is not good. So Lagares out. Conforto comes in a double switch. He'll play center field. Granderson moves to right. Rafael Montero will pitch the 7th inning. Fracture of the IP joint of the left thumb for Juan Lagares.
There, another one bites the dust. Jeez.
Wow.
I don't know what to say.
And just when he had gotten hot over the last 2 weeks.
And it's not that, it's just this year. This has been going on and on.
Well, you can talk all you want about training methods and whatever else. That has nothing to do with it.
That's a freaky play.
It's just bad. It's terrible, terrible luck. Montero's first outing since returning from the minor leagues. Yet another chance for Rafael at the big league level. It has not gone well for him.
You know, maybe my memory's not serving me well enough, but God, it seems like this is not the first time that Juan gets it going and then an injury takes him out.
I think the same thing occurred last year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Montero's last outing was against the Padres May 25th. He gave up 3 runs in 3 innings. Shortly thereafter was back in Las Vegas. Called back up when Josh Smoker went on the disabled list yesterday. Rendon takes it outside 2-2. Rendon's 2 for 3 tonight, a single and a double. He's driven in a run. Juan Lagares raised his batting average 50 points in June, and now a fractured thumb. What can you even say at this point? Right?
There's nothing to say. I mean, we're speechless.
I mean, just think about the current disabled list, right?
Yeah.
Syndergaard, Familia, Walker, Cabrera, Lagares, Smoker. Did I miss anybody? Harvey. That's just right now. Forget about all the.
That's a quarter of your roster.
Come back.
That's a quarter of your roster, just about here.
Big quarter, too.
Hard to believe. Did we miss Cabrera?
You mentioned Cabrera.
Okay.
You know, you've had Cespedes miss considerable time, and Duda miss considerable time, and Darno on the.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing who's been untouched.
Bruce and Granderson.
And that's not even mentioning David Wright.
Reyes.
7th pitch to Rendon. Grounded slowly. Charging Flores. Throwing on the move. This time on target. 1 away. Seems to do better when he's moving.
Sometimes
more rhythm on his throw.
I don't know. Sometimes you don't think about it. You just it's an athletic play as opposed to thinking about making a perfect throw.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Matt Wieters is 1 for 3. And I guess from a team standpoint, what I would ask from guys who played the game is how many times can a team take hits like this on a daily and weekly basis before it has an impact on everybody else and your spirits start to sag.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the kind of team that you have. You know, we had the teams we played at. We had that kind of season '87, especially with the pitchers, and you just keep plugging. You know, you just you know, I mean, that's part of being a professional.
I don't know, Gary. I've never seen anything like it, and you know, and to string a set of seasons along where all this club's had these injuries. Ronnie brought up harken back to '87. Now we lost all of our starters in that one course or one spot or another that was critical, but this is just beyond. I mean, to make it an equal, it would have to be '87. We would have had to lose Strawberry, me, Carter to match what's going on this year.
1-2 coming to Wieters, and he lifts one out to right center. Conforto angles in with Granderson, and Conforto calls 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Taylor Rooks has another game break brought to you by the New York State Department of Health. Rockies start the day 16 games over 500, and they're 16 games over 500 with maybe their most recognizable player, Carlos Gonzalez, hitting .215 in the midst of an 0 for 24 spell.
Yeah, the only issue, and they're battling the Giants, who are 15 games under 500. The only issue for the Rockies, they have so many young starters. What are they going to do when they get to that August, mid-August time? I mean, all those guys going to pitch 200 innings?
I mean, Jeff Hoffman and Germán Marquez and Kyle Freeland and Anthony Senzatella, guys that, you know, were not on anybody's radar when the year began. They're all doing a great job for that team in their rotation.
Right.
Will they hit innings limits at some point?
Who knows? But they're getting the pitching that they've always needed, because that lineup is strong.
Taylor homered his last time up, his 7th of the year. Gio Gonzalez is out on deck to bat for himself. Five of the last 6 games, the Nats have gotten 6 innings or less from their starters. And, you know, this is, I mean, the Mets obviously are a team that wants to get 21 outs from their starters, but the Nats with their bullpen even more so.
Yeah, and that's why their record in their last 6 games is not good. So
Gio will be out there pitching in the 7th inning. Flight pattern seems a little little Citi Field oriented tonight. Usually that's only when the weather is a little murky and you have a low ceiling, but it's a beautiful evening. And
I was here at 12 noon today, believe it or not. I had to do something on the field that airplanes are taking off all day overhead. I thought I was back at Shea Stadium.
You were on the field with your bad knee?
I had to do a little clinic.
That one gets behind Rivera, chases after it, and a close play, and Duda stayed on the bag, and Taylor's retired to end the inning. So it's a strikeout for Montero. 2-3 on the putout. Montero has a 1-2-3 inning. 7th inning stretch time, 8-2 Washington. The Nats off to a fast start tonight. Daniel Murphy having himself his usual fine game against his old team. Not the best of nights for Robert Gsellman. Nat fans with plenty to yell about on Dusty Baker's 68th birthday. Second oldest manager in the game. Happy birthday. Oldest managers in the other dugout. Here are your City probables for the remainder of the series. Steven Matz makes his second start of the season tomorrow. Seth Lugo does the same on Saturday. They'll face off against Scherzer and Strasburg respectively. Jacob deGrom Sunday against the struggling Joe Ross. And we just got word that the Dodgers have announced that they're going to slide Kenta Maeda into their rotation Sunday, which means the Mets will face Clayton Kershaw Monday.
There you go.
Welcome to LA. TJ Rivera will lead off in the home seventh. Rivera's 1 for 2. He's singled and popped up. Gio Gonzalez working into the seventh, gets the curveball over for a strike.
It's the best curveball I've seen Gonzalez have. Not the nastiest, but his ability to throw it for strikes whenever he wants to.
This is with a changeup, and it's 1-1. About to throw his 90th pitch of the night. Not even a hint of action in the Nationals bullpen. That's just the way Dusty likes it. Ground ball toward the middle. Turner gets to it, but no play on Rivera, who has his second hit of the night and his fifth in the last 2 nights.
Off the end of the bat, and they plant him in the pull.
How about the range? Turner was not even in our picture. Came out of nowhere. Well, it was a changeup, so probably thinking that that ball is going to be pulled instead of hit up the middle.
So TJ Rivera getting the first crack at playing second base with Neil Walker on the disabled list for a few weeks at least. And he's got 5 hits in the first 2 games. Here's Duda, who's 0 for 2. Time for AARP's Getting to Know Gio Gonzalez, originally drafted by the White Sox, then traded to Oakland, and then to the Nationals. Arrived in 2012 after an all-star season in Oakland in 2011, and went 21-8 his first year with the Nationals. Finished 3rd in the Cy Young balloting. How about his shoes? Have we talked about his shoes tonight?
I haven't talked about it. I don't find them great looking, but I know they're by Mr. Jordan. I didn't know he made baseball spikes, or Nike did.
My observation about them, forget about the style, is they look very loose, and I always thought pitchers like to have their spikes very tight.
Yeah, Keith and I were talking about it before. My shoe size is 13. I used to wear 11 size spikes to make sure they were tight.
I was 12 and wore 10.5s.
Now, why did you like them so tight?
I just like, you don't want any movement inside that boot, man. You want it as tight as you can be. You know, you just wear the sanitary socks. You get your ankles taped. I used to get my ankles taped. I don't know about you. Sanitary socks, and then right into the spike.
The kangaroo hide, when I was playing, that's what they were made of. I don't know if they still are.
Duda went around on the half swing, and he's a strikeout victim. He did not agree with that. Brian Gorman called that himself without any help from the third base umpire.
That was Duda's issue. Wanted Gorman to get some help.
He's got a right to say that. I don't think he swung, and I think it is the 7th inning, and you better start swinging the bats. But the kangaroo hide, Gary, will expand and mold to your foot, and as a result, my second toe is bigger than my big toe.
Yeah.
So to this day, that last joint, I'm kind of curled up because of the tight baseball shoe that I always wore.
Really?
Yes.
So you were permanently disfigured by your baseball shoes?
Yes, and it's murder on your toenails, and on that toenail too.
That's got to be an Instagram photo at some point.
Are you sure? You sure that's something you really want to see?
Just once.
Pulled down a third, a foul ball. So the Red Sox and Phillies are playing tonight. Chris Sale pitching for Boston, and Nick Pivetta for the Phils, and they went scoreless into the 8th inning when Ty Kelly for the Phillies doubled in a run against Sale.
Wow.
1-0 Phillies in the 9th.
I'd like to know what kind of runs per game Sale has gotten as a Red Sox. I mean, he should have 10, 12 wins the way he's pitched.
Phillies are trying to snap an 8-game losing streak, and Hector Neris now in there to try and save it. Rene Rivera homered his last time up, hit it over the fence in right center for his 3rd of the year. 1-2 to Rene. Jose Reyes on deck. Conforto behind him in the 9-hole. Pulled down to 3rd. That's a foul ball. '31-year-old Gio Gonzalez about to throw his 100th pitch of the night. Threw 105 in 6 innings in his last start against Texas. That was a typical Nats game. He gave up 1 run in 6 innings. No decision. They lost 6-3. 5 times this year the bullpen has blown saves for Gio. Popped up foul toward the short wall. Zimmerman gives a look, but it's out of play. So he's 5-1, and the bullpen has blown 5 potential wins for him.
Well, you know, it's he'd be having an all-star kind of season. The problem with today is that, you know, the starting pitching only pitches 2/3 of the game. So, you know, when you leave a game winning by a run or 2, and bullpen's got to be perfect for you to get the win.
1-2 coming, up and in. 2-2. So Gonzalez up over 100 pitches and not even a hint of action in the Nats bullpen. That skips in a changeup from Gio, and it's 3-2. Gonzalez has not walked a batter. This is his 4th 3-ball count of the night, and Rivera pops it up. Rendon with plenty of room, and that's the 2nd out.
Just a changeup floated right down the middle. Rivera just a little quick.
So 2 out in the bottom of the 7th, and now Reyes, who has flied deep to right and struck out 0 for 2.
Got a dozen balls in the air for outs for Gio tonight.
Started right from the beginning. 1-2-3 inning in the first on 3 fly balls or pop-ups. You know, with all the StatCast information, we know about exit velocity. Do we know about descent velocity on pop-ups? Right, you hit one of those really high pop-ups. How fast is it going when it hits the fielder's glove?
How fast it goes up and how fast it's coming down.
How about altitude?
Because it gets to its fastest point right before it hits the glove, right?
I want to know altitude.
Well, they can give you altitude. An attitude, too. Taylor makes the grab to retire Reyes, and Gio Gonzalez is through 7 with an 8-2 lead.
The opener of this 4-game series. Rafael Montero will start his second inning of relief. Stephen Drew will be the pinch hitter, batting for Gio Gonzalez. So Gio is done after 7 innings and 106 pitches.
What new? Great effort again by Gio here at Citi Field.
Dusty Baker will trust his bullpen to get 6 outs with a 6-run lead. Here's the veteran Drew, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Tomorrow night, game 2 of this series. Steven Matz makes his second appearance for the Mets. Max Scherzer goes for the Nats, and it's Free Shirt Friday. Keith, would you care to model the shirt for us? Oh, there we go. Very nice.
He's trying to get away with just not being here, just putting the T-shirt down.
I'm trying to get a feel for the design. It's tie-dye, but is it supposed to be some representation other than an NY? What's the green and yellow part of the tie-dye?
It looks very Caribbean, very beach to me, anyway.
Well, anyway, that's the Free Shirt Friday shirt.
Where'd you go, buddy? What's the immortal words of one of those great announcers?
Red Barber?
Red Barber? I had to take a powder, that's all. I'm back. It's a long way, you know.
Well, especially when you have an ice machine strapped to your leg.
Right. You noticed that, huh?
Have we shown the people your ice machine or the wrap on your leg?
It's called Game Ready, which I think is cool. So this wraps around my leg. Okay, it's a wrap.
And what's the red box? What does that do?
The red box opens up and it's water in here and ice. And then I can turn it on. Oops.
Don't get strangled by the ice machine. Conforto comes in to catch the fly ball from Drew for the first out.
So it's got these controls here, so I can control the time. You want to do 30 minutes, then you wait an hour and you do 30 minutes. It just recirculates the water. You keep ice in it, and it's been a savior. And it's called Game Ready. I can't believe it.
And you are game ready.
And it's coming to, this is the Mets. Ray Ramirez gave me this, and it's going to come on the plane with me.
You sure they're not going to need it for somebody else?
They're going to have to fight to get it from me, I can tell you. Because I need it.
I mean, you know, I haven't been in a big league training room in a long time because, you know, in these newer ballparks, it's very restricted.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how crowded the training room is in this ballpark, even, you know, with all the space they've got in there now?
That's right. Never even thought of that. Not enough hot tubs.
Hot tubs, cold baths.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Did we have a pinch hitter?
Yes, Stephen Drew.
It was Drew flied out. Trey Turner's 0 for 4 tonight. Reached on there, scored a run his last time up in the 6th. Montero's retired 4 in a row since coming on in relief. Well, thank you for sharing that, Keith.
Oh, it's been a savior. Ice is your friend.
But you don't keep it on constantly, right?
No, it's 30 minutes on. I said an hour off, and you can't ever ice it enough when you've got inflammation and swelling in the beginning of those traumatic injuries.
Just off the corner, 3-2. Now, what about flying? Because you got a long flight out to the West Coast.
That's a concern, and that's why they want to wait 3 weeks before you fly, and here I am 2 weeks, and I'm going to be flying across the country. So I'm going to have to take a blood thinner on the plane. And Ray Ramirez is going to keep a close eye on me, and he's going to bring on this machine for me so I can keep it iced on the flight the whole way and go get him.
Good change up by Montero to strike out Turner.
I'll be in the lineup at Chavez Ravine. Do they still call it Chavez Ravine?
Well, that's the area. I mean, that's where they built it. The goat pasture where they built Dodger Stadium.
Right. So for all the young kids out there, it was called Dodger Stadium always, but Chavez Ravine.
Well, the reason they called it Chavez Ravine is because the Angels played there also, and they would not call it Dodger Stadium. It's kind of like when the Jets played at Giant Stadium. Right. They didn't call it Giant Stadium. They called it the Meadowlands.
Oh.
Same deal. The Angels wouldn't call it Dodger Stadium. They called it Chavez Ravine.
And it is a ravine, and that The big Dodger in the sky behind home plate, folks. It is chiseled. That was built right into the cliff face. It's one of the highest. I think it's higher than Shea Stadium, the upper tank.
Well, they've got that top deck behind the plate that doesn't go all the way around.
Right.
That's very high.
And you can park up there.
Right. And you can park at every level of the ballpark.
Right. And so it's built into a cliff face almost. And it's just an extraordinary ballpark.
Mets will play 4 games there starting on Monday night. 2-1 to Goodwin, and there's a strike. 2-2.
Love to play there, Ron. You like to pitch there?
Oh boy, I wouldn't get to pitch there very often. It always worked out. I'd have the first game in San Francisco, last game in San Diego, and LA I would have off, which is not awful in itself.
Well, you could have, go over to West Hollywood.
I might mention that in the great pitcher's ballpark that is Dodger Stadium, Keith was a lifetime .318 hitter
against a real good pitching staff.
3-2 coming, and Goodwin strikes out on the changeup. So Montero 6 up and 6 down with 3 strikeouts. Looking strong in his first appearance back in the big leagues. Mets down by 6. Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, dedicated to advancing cancer research, treatment, and care. More science, less fear. By New York Community Bank and the NYCB family of banks. Visit them at mynycb.com. And by Hyundai, there's no better time to buy a new Hyundai than now. See your local Hyundai dealer or visit buyhyundai.com. SNY's Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's been all Nationals so far tonight, 8-2, as the Nats go to their bullpen and the former Met Oliver Perez comes in.
Well, you can see the one stat, 1 for 1 in saves. So Oliver has been used, as everyone has been used in that bullpen, to try to save ball games. Right-handed hitters wearing them out.
Everybody's had a shot at closing. Yeah. Sean Kelly and Blake Trinan and Coda Glover is on the DL right now, and Matt Albers and Perez. Right now, Dusty Baker doesn't have a closer. He just has a bunch of guys, none of whom has had a particularly good year. Michael Conforto leads off and takes a slider for a strike. Well, there you see the contrast. Their starters have been very good. Their bullpen has been awful. That's the reason they have not pulled farther away in the National League East. They do have an 8.5 game lead, though. And with all the contortions, Ollie gets the slider in for a strike, and it's 0-2. Conforto batting for the first time. Came in on a double switch in the 7th inning. Got an at bat as a pinch hitter last night and struck out. Should be back in the lineup tomorrow. This is the 4th straight game Michael has not started after coming up with a sore back. And he strikes out on 3 pitches against Perez for the first out. Let's go back to our Verizon trivia question. We asked 2 of the 4 players the Mets got for Tom Seaver. You got Doug Flynn, Dan Norman,
Pat Zachary,
Steve Henderson, Pat Zachary.
That's right.
Henderson had a terrific first season.
Yeah, Steve had some good years. Doug Flynn won a Gold Glove. Pat Zachary was a serviceable pitcher. Dan Norman never did much, but
no, he didn't make it.
But it didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter who they traded for, right?
Now, there was speculation that the Mets, while they were talking to the Reds about dealing for Seaver, also were in conversations with the Dodgers, and that the Dodgers were offering a potential 3-player package that supposedly included Pedro Guerrero, Lee Lacy. Yeah.
And Seaver would have gone to the Dodger team with all that pitching, and we just added to it.
So you mentioned the Dodgers.
Right.
Let me ask you a question then, because you're the only one who can answer this question. Would it be like Kershaw being traded today because he had a fight with the front office? Yeah,
that's probably the closest thing. I mean, you know, Seaver was an iconic player for a franchise whom he had taken to 2 World Series and won 1. I mean, 182 wins in 10 years. Think about that.
Oh, I got it.
And if they had a little more offense, it might have been 200 wins in the first 10 years.
Yes.
I mean, he had 1 year he won 18 games with an ERA under 2, and we figured out that if the Mets had scored 4 runs every game, he would have been 33-4. 1-2 to Granderson, and he hits one to the left side, but Rendon is right there, lone man on that side of the infield, and that's the second out. So Pat Zachary with the Mets was in 6 seasons, went 41-46.
Okay.
Famously broke his toe kicking in the dugout steps, which cost him half a year. Stevie Henderson, 4 years with the Mets, 35 home runs.
Okay.
Doug Flynn, 5 years with the Mets, a .234 average, but he did win a Gold Glove. And Dan Norman, 4 years, 11 home runs.
Zachary spikes were too big.
Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Pitching change for the Nats. We'll be right back. Give me your tired, your poor Your huddled masses yearning to be free.
You're injured.
I want to add a phrase. Joe Blanton on to try and get the final out in the bottom of the 8th. Wilmer Flores the batter.
Well, Blanton, if you remember, went to the bullpen a few seasons ago, 2 seasons ago, had an amazing year for the Dodgers last year, signed late with the Nationals, was not very effective, went on the DL. Since he's been back, he's struck out half the batters he faced. So looking at the umpire like that was a strike.
Well, he's struggled like everybody else in that Nationals bullpen. Flores is 0 for 3 tonight. And now Blanton behind him 3-0.
2-0 slider with an 8-2 lead. That'll. It's an interesting choice. How about that?
By the way, the Phillies won that game. They beat Chris Sale and the Red Sox 1-0. So the Phillies snapped their 8-game losing streak.
Ty Kelly.
Ty Kelly drove in the only run of the game against Sale in the 8th. High fly ball deep left field, and Goodwin can only watch this one near the wall. It's out of here. Wilmer Flores hits his 6th home run of the year to get the Mets a little closer. It's now 8-3 on a 3-0 pitch, 3-1 pitch, excuse me. Blanton has had huge problems with first batters, and another first batter takes him deep. So the Mets hoping that spurs an unlikely late comeback. First batter's now 9 for 15 with 5 home runs against Blanton. Cespedes though pops one up. Should be playable for Zimmerman. And that retires the side. Wilmer Flores struggled in the last couple of days. No struggle there. 6th home run of the year for Flores. Nats have a 5-run lead going to the 9th. Ninth inning, 8-3 Washington. Rafael Montero's faced 6, retired 6. There's your Geico Sports Night coming up after the post game. Piling up, yes, the Mets injuries are. Change up for Montero to start off Bryce Harper, who delivered the keynote tonight with a 1st inning home run against Robert Gsellman, and the Nats have not looked back. Gsellman was tagged for 7 runs and 11 hits over 5 innings. Not helped out by his defense. Josh Edgen gave up an unearned run in his inning, but Montero has been spot on so far. Terry's going to need a starter next Tuesday in LA, and Montero with this outing trying to put in a bid. 1-2 to Harper.
Be right on time, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, boom, there's your day.
One-two coming. Grounded down to first. Handled by Duda. Harper retired, one away. So 7 up and 7 down now for Montero. And it brings up Ryan Zimmerman, who's 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. Zimmerman the other day hit his 234th career home run, which ties him for the all-time franchise home run record going back to Montreal. 234 home runs, ties Vladimir Guerrero for the franchise mark.
I like that they go back to you know, their roots. There's some Montreal hat.
Yeah, it's all the same franchise. It's got the hat and the shirt.
Never was a fan of that hat.
The tricolor?
No.
Come on.
You liked it?
It was it was perfect for what the Expos were. I mean, it was like a party in the stands in Montreal, especially at old Jerry Park.
Yeah.
Did you get to play at Jerry Park?
I did not. I did not. You did, of course.
I hit one over the scoreboard off Steve Dunning into the pool. Thank you.
A pool there?
Was there snow at that
It was
point?
so cold in April and September that they had jets on both sides of the dugouts that were like torpedoes. I swear they were that big. And they blew out heat that you can flame temper your bat.
Kicked down by Montero, and he gets the out. We'll see if Rafael's okay after blocking that with his leg.
It hit him two or three times.
And Ray Ramirez makes an all too frequent visit to the field to make sure that Montero's all right. Ran him off the calf, it looked like.
Yeah, right calf, then caromed over to his left shoe.
How many times has Ray Ramirez been on the field in the last 24 hours? More than some players.
Yeah.
Last night it was Walker coming out of the game with a hamstring injury. Harvey went on the shelf today with an injury to his scapula. Juan Lagares went out tonight with a fractured left thumb. Montero, though, appears to be okay to stay in.
And by the way, Ron, last night that was a good call. You picked up immediately with the velocity down on Harvey that you felt that something was wrong with him. He was pitching with pain.
Yeah, well, it's you know, the only thing I really regret last night is, you know, I was imploring Matt to, you know, fight, because even though he gave up those first 2 home runs, you can fight and stay in the game, but it wasn't a fair fight. He's pitching with a hurt arm. That's not fair.
Have you heard of this injury before? I was reading today that Michael Wacha had something similar.
He did.
With the Cardinals. A stress injury to the scapula. Almost like an irritated bone.
Well, if you let it go untreated, then you can really harm the bone and then fracture the bone, and that's the big issue.
Well, Montero perseveres, gets Murphy to fly out. 9 up and 9 down for Montero. That's come up in the bottom of the 9th. Last of the 9th inning, Travis d'Arnaud will pinch hit for New York against Joe Blanton, who gave up a home run to Wilmer Flores in the 8th. And he'll stay on to pitch the 9th. Nationals with a 5-run lead. It'll be d'Arnaud, then T.J. Rivera and Lucas Duda for the Mets in the home 9th. First pitch swing, flies one out to Harper in right field. One pitch for Blanton and one out. Coming up after we're done here, it's WB Mason postgame live. That means Gary Apple. It means Nelson Figueroa. It means a recitation of lots of hurt players.
I just don't know what they can talk about tonight.
That's what they'll talk about. Yeah. There's your People's United Bank starters. Gio Gonzalez very good on the way to his 6th win. Robert Gsellman, most runs he's allowed in a big league start. T.J. Rivera has 2 of the Mets' 6 hits in this game. And a late swing on a fastball, 0-1. T.J. 5 for 8 over the last 2 games, up to 282 for the year. He was recalled when Asdrubal Cabrera went back on the DL. So Met fans have been begging for Rosario, and instead they got Rivera and Cecchini. Rosario will be here eventually, but as we heard Sandy Alderson say earlier tonight, just doesn't fit with where the Mets are right now. You can take that any way you want. Rivera strikes out. That's the 2nd out of the inning, and the Mets are down to their last of the night. They're your team. Take them with you wherever you go. You can now watch SNY Mets games on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon on SNY.TV and the NBC Sports app, your home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Here's Duda, who's 0 for 3 tonight, with the Mets down to their final out. By the way, Dave Freed wanted me to point out, Keith, that you hit .390 at Jerry Park in Montreal. .390.
Cold weather.
Best of any park that you played at.
But not that many at bats.
41 at bats, 16 hits, .390 batting average. Your worst park?
Houston.
Arlington. 0 for 9.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
0 for 9.
I was over the hill. With the Cleveland Indian uniform.
Still hard for me to picture that. I mean, I've seen it. I saw it then.
I don't even think I've seen it.
Still can't.
You don't want to.
Can't accept it.
I won't sign any card with my baseball card.
Is that true?
I will not sign it.
Duda pulls one foul.
Oh, that's going to endear you with the Indians fans.
No. we don't go there for another few years.
Not because nothing to do with Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's the last year when you're finished.
Yeah, it's
and you
sensitive.
Can't play anymore.
Yeah,
it's nothing to do with Cleveland. I love the Flats.
That goes to the backstop. Well, if you had a chance to play at the new ballpark.
The new ballpark, I've been there. It's nice. It's beautiful.
You would have liked that, but the old mistake by the lake, whole different story.
Well, Jim Brown was made for Jim Brown.
And Milt Plum. That's pulled down to first. Zimmerman's got it, and the Nats take the opener of the 4-game series as they hit Robert Gsellman early and often. And the Mets suffering yet another debilitating injury. Their 3rd in 24 hours. The depleted Mets fall now 9.5 games behind the Nats as Washington takes the first game of this series 8-3.
Well, the pitching, Gio Gonzalez, his 10th win now at Citi Field. Another fantastic effort, and Gsellman, it got away from him fast in the 5th.
Nats win on Dusty Baker's 68th birthday. Bryce Harper with the home run in the 1st inning to put them in front, and they never looked back. Tonight's game summary presented by StubHub. Gio Gonzalez now 6-1 on the year, now 10-1 at Citi Field, by far the most wins of any visiting pitcher. Daniel Murphy 3 more hits against his old team as the Nats win at 8-3. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.